Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Anette King.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and Labor will be supporting this bill to the Health Select Committee. I want to begin by commending Peter Dunn, the Associate Minister of Health, on his commitment to oral health. It is an area that I had a great deal of interest in, as many know my background before I came to this House. But it's not been an area where there's been a lot of interest in other associate or ministers of health. But certainly Peter Dunn over the years has shown a commitment to improving the oral health of New Zealanders. But I have to say to Mr Dunn that I am a little disappointed in this bill, because this bill is one that is now going to shift the decision-making from local government to elected district health boards. And whilst that is a good halfway step, it is not the full answer as to what is required here. You see, one of the reasons that it's shifted away from local government is because it became highly political at a local level. Campaigns were run against fluoridation, misinformation was spread, people stood for local government to oppose fluoridation. What we're doing in this bill is to shift the responsibility now to elected district health boards. And already we know, and I think it's in Hamilton where there has been some controversy over fluoridation, that one member of a district health board has stood solely for the purpose of opposing fluoridation. Now, what we've done is to shift responsibility from one elected body to another elected body. And I take the Minister's point. This is a health measure. This isn't a water measure, it is a public health measure. And the Minister said that population health is best addressed by elected district health boards at a local level. That is not the case in practically every other decision a district health board has to make. They are required by the Minister of Health, who has absolute say over what they do through the letter of expectation, to carry out the wishes of the government of the day. So the idea that they've got some autonomy in making decisions around health is only very, very at the edges, if at all. And so by shifting the responsibility to district health boards, we will see once again the political pressure applied to those who are on those boards. You see, I think if we are really committed to improving the oral health of young New Zealanders, with all the science that we know, with all the backing that occurs, whether from the science, there's no doubt about the science, and the Minister mentioned that, but also the World Health Organisation recommending that we boost fluoride to the optimum levels. With all that, why is this decision not being made as a public health measure by the Ministry of Health when they set a water standard? Why are we going to a halfway house? I suspect, and I'm not sure, but I suspect the Minister may well have liked, the Associate Minister may well have liked to have gone the full hog, but this is a halfway house. So we will support it, Mr Speaker, to the Select Committee, and I'm interested in hearing submissions from the public on this measure. And I hope those who are backed by evidence and science will come forward to make submissions on why we should be fluoridating water. Look, this is a controversial issue. It's been controversial as long as everybody in this House has been alive. And it won't go away, but we have. I'm not as old as the oldest person in this House, but as old as the oldest person in this House, this issue has been around. And I would say to the members opposite and the National Party, because this is a bill put up by their coalition partner, I would remind them of what the Prime Minister's Chief Science Advisor and the Royal Society of New Zealand, assisted by a panel of experts, said in 2014. Now, this is the man who has been chosen by the government to give expert advice on such matters, along with the Royal Society of New Zealand. One respectable person, one a respectable body, and they concluded there is compelling evidence that fluoridation of the water at recommended levels produces broad benefits for the dental health of New Zealand. Why would we be going to another halfway house on a measure that is shown to be able to give benefit to New Zealanders and the oral health of New Zealanders? And you know, when I started in my career many years ago, the number of children with missing, decayed and filled teeth was huge. In fact, I trained in those days to do extractions on permanent teeth. Such was the state of New Zealanders' teeth. Over the years, it has improved. It's certainly improved in areas where we have fluoridated water. But we do have in New Zealand now dental decay that is the disease of poverty. And you can see it in many parts of New Zealand. And the best measure that would give them the best chance of lifetime teeth is fluoridation. And we have those who will oppose it on voodoo science. And I think it is a real shame that we've been unable to crack this issue and to say this is a public health measure. We've done it on immunisation. We've done it on so many other issues in New Zealand. We said this is a public health measure that lifts the health status of all New Zealanders, but not in oral health. And we continue to deny the need for us to take measures that will give every child in a fluoridated area the opportunity to have good teeth. I just so wish I'd had that opportunity, because one of the great costs to the health system of the future is going to be the baby boomers who retire not with false teeth but their own teeth and little ability to pay for that dental care. There is no help for adult New Zealanders who need dental care. The best thing that could happen to our young people becoming adults is that they go into their life with good teeth that needs little work at all. Because if you want to see how you can blow a health budget, you will blow it if you have to provide oral health to all New Zealanders. Fluoridation is such a sensible measure, Mr. Speaker. So I say to the Minister, is he prepared to look at another option here? Is he prepared, when this bill goes to the Select Committee, if the evidence, if the submissions are not form submissions that we often get when someone opposes something and they're all asked to send them in, but is the Minister prepared to look at an alternative where in fact fluoridation is a standard set by the Ministry of Health, the Director General of Health, as a public health measure? And I asked the Minister that in all seriousness, because he did point out some of the terrible statistics around New Zealand children's teeth. The number of children hospitalised with tooth decay was 1,000 extra 2 years ago compared to 2008. You look at the figures, the number of children hospitalised. Think about that, having to go into hospital because they got tooth decay. Look at the number of children who have to have a general anaesthetic to remove their teeth. Sure, there is an obligation for parents to make sure their children eat healthy food, that we restrict the amount of sugary drinks that children are consuming, etc., that they clean their teeth. But as we know, that doesn't always happen and hasn't always happened. But there is one measure that would give them a good start, and that's fluoridation of the water supply. I guarantee, Mr. Speaker, all of us on the Health Select Committee will be inundated by text messages, emails and letters telling us that we should not be approaching this measure. But I say that our Select Committee has shown over time that we are prepared to look at the tough issues, and I'm sure we will, but I want to see if there is a better way of doing this that has real coverage of fluoridated water supply, rather than, as I've said, this halfway measure. So, Mr Speaker, we will support it to a select committee. We welcome the submissions. I hope there will be there. And we would welcome also expert advice coming before our committee. In fact, I say to our chair that we ought to invite Professor Gluckman to come and give the evidence as to why this is a very good public health measure.